to another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Quire, brought to you by Inquire Hire, where we are giving insights and guidance from Black successful professionals. So we appreciate you joining us and tuning in with us today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us at inquirehire.com, where we have a wealth of information to help you reach your goals in college consulting services. Today we have Shawntay Cunningham with us, who is in finance. Finance itself is pretty broad, and there are a lot of career paths within the field. We will get to know Shawntay's story and what her journey looks like. So welcome, Shawntay Cunningham. How are you today?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing okay today. Today's a pretty good day. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the question, who is Shawntay Cunningham?
So, that's a hard question. And I've thought about it at varying different stages of my life and career. Who was Shawntay when I was in high school? Who was Shawntay in college? Who's Shawntay now? And I would say that after giving it a lot of thought, I'm a person that is in a world trying to find my way, while at the same time trying to make sure that I'm making a way for other people. That's a vague way of saying that I morph and I become what I need to become to be successful in whatever it is I'm working in at that moment in time.
That's a very deep response. I was not anticipating that. That is beautiful. Yes. So we're
in a place. So that's where I am right now.
Yeah. So we're always morphing, right? And I guess, so right now you are an amazing person in general. I've known you for a couple of years, and Shawntay, just so everyone knows, is goals. I mean, her and her husband and her kids they have a beautiful family, and they're just amazing. So it's been really good to know her. So who inspired you to get into your field? I'm curious.
So this I can make this a very short answer or a long answer, but I'll try to do a medium answer. And I'll just go back to 11th grade. Because 11th grade, I had a wonderful physics teacher named Mr. Beadle. Mr. Beadle with a D, not a T, Beatle. We're actually friends on Facebook right now, and he's a great man. And we were working on a solar-powered car project. So we all had the job of doing this project. And when we did our presentations, we had to race the cars. And my car didn't win, but, I gave it a valiant effort. And so he pulled me aside and just said, have you thought about like what you want to do for college? Are you thinking about going to college? And being from Kentucky, I should mention this, especially in the 90s, college wasn't a guarantee for anybody, regardless of your race. So I was in an advanced program class where there was one other Black person in the class, but I would say out of the 25 kids that were in the advanced program class, maybe 2/3 went to college, maybe, and the others, it just wasn't, even though they were like these amazingly smart people, just college wasn't a thing in the 90s for some reason. But he brought it up, and so he asked, and I said, I don't know, I want to be a dancer. So my whole life, I've danced my whole life.
I did not know this. Oh, wow.
Well, I'm planning on, my goal is, and not to get too far off topic, but, and Living Color was very big in the 90s. And so my goal was to be
you're going to be a fly girl?
Fly girl. That was,
oh my goodness.
And he chuckled. He said, well, Shawntay, you are so smart in science and math. I really want you to think about engineering. Never ever thought about engineering. Never. Again, I'm 16 years old at this point, right? And never once did engineering anything sound like it was interesting to me. But because he said I should think about it, I, pulled up the information for the local schools, and then just on that whim started looking at engineering schools. And I know that's crazy, but I think it takes a lot. It takes somebody saying something to you to make you think, oh, so I can do something other than this other thing, Especially coming from a family where my mom went to college for a couple of years and no one else went to college. Half my family probably didn't even finish high school. But I don't know, it's just interesting for him to give that it was just a seed. And from that seed, it went to, oh, I'm going to go to engineering school. And then as I started to apply, I got into different engineering schools. And so that was the path. So my path was, I'm, a really good dancer. I was coaching, I was choreographing and all this stuff. So I would probably make a really good teacher as well. So I went to engineering school with the plan of being one of the first Black engineering professors.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I got my mechanical engineering degree. I went on for my master's and I was headed for a PhD. Enter
Oh no, what
internships.
happened?
And so internships. And so I just want to say, like, internships are like the best thing in the world for kids because we don't know. I mean, I'm 43 years old now and I still don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, So like, especially when you're 16, there's no way you can know unless somebody's holding your hand the whole way and they're like, okay, you're going to do this and then this and this. So there's no real roadmap. And so that was the plan. I do an internship at Ford Motor Company, which was amazing. It was a great place for a mechanical engineer to be. As I'm there, I, get hit with different opportunities to like design pieces of the car or like work on ways to make it easier for the people on the line to work. And as I was trying to help and come up with ways to make the parts more profitable. So as I was on these different committees, I was seeing more of a business aspect as opposed to just I'm at the computer doing CAD designs for like a little handlebar on the car or for like a cup holder for the car. And then I got to be in these meetings where there was more to the car than just making the car. There was how profitable can the car be? And so then midstream, before starting the PhD program, I just redirected for MBA and said, you know what, I don't really want to, I don't think I want to do this. I think I want to be where the money is. I want to know about and it just happened. It happened one summer while it was actually, I can tell you, it was like August of 2001. So then I switched gears, did an MBA program. Luckily, I'd done a lot of the master's classes while I was working on my master's of engineering. So it didn't take too long to like get the MBA. And then that's kind of a long way to say how I switched out of being an engineer into finance, just because it just hit me that I'm more of a people person and not really like a behind the computer person, which I didn't know, which again, nobody knows. We don't know what we are until you like get into the situation. So I did that. While I was finishing up my MBA, I got an opportunity to be like a facility engineer, but it was really like I had my own P&L at UPS for the airlines. And so doing that was interesting because I was able to still be an engineer. I still worked on projects, but I was also responsible for money. And that was what I was interested in at the time. So this is a long story about that, so I'm sorry, but it all builds on each other. So that's where I was at the time. Chadwick, who's my husband, started business school, but he started business school in Boston. I was finishing up business school in Louisville. And so we were separated, which was fine because we still saw each other and everything like that. But we knew that at some point, I think we're also engaged. At some point during that time, we got engaged. And so we were like, we have to be in the same city. So I had to either stay with UPS and move to Boston, or he needed to move back. We had to figure that out. So in trying to figure that out, we decided on Chicago just because it was closer to Kentucky. And we just started an all-in like career campaign for some job in Chicago. So at that point, I thought the only thing that I'm cut out to be is like a plant manager. Like I think I have an engineering background. Now I have my business degree. I can manage a plant. So that's where I was looking. I was looking at like the Ford in Chicago, the UPS, and any place where I could be like in charge of some type of manufacturing facility. Well, then as I'm looking, this really dates me, but there was this thing called, I think monster.com. That was the career site, monster.com. You know,
I believe it's still around. Yeah.
Is it still around?
Yeah, it is.
Somebody sent me a note because I loaded my resume there, and somebody sent me a note from Deloitte. At the time it was called Deloitte & Touche, asking if I'd be interested in interviewing for a position. And that's straight up accounting, right? That's an accounting firm. And I thought, well, that's weird. I don't do anything in accounting. But I talked to them because at this point, Chadwick had a job. I'm still in Kentucky. I got to get to Chicago because, wedding 6 months away, and I think we should live in the same city if we're gonna be married, right?
No pressure at all.
So I come up to Chicago, I do the interview, and the job is equipment valuation, which for anybody that doesn't know about because I didn't know about this at all through the 4 years of engineering undergrad. But basically, in a finance situation, if a company buys another company and they need to reset the books, the company may have stock options, they may have patents, they may have intangible things that you can't see or touch, but they also have things in their books like hard assets, like the chairs, the desk, the equipment that builds the widget, if it's like a huge manufacturing facility. And Deloitte was looking for somebody to go in and assess the value of the hard equipment, which is the stuff that I would know, right? So it was like almost like this job that was made specifically for me because you needed to have an MBA or at least an undergrad degree in accounting or finance, and they wanted you to have an engineering degree, at least a bachelor's, but a master's would be fine as well. And so I had the master's of business administration and the master's of engineering, and that's, I guess, why my name popped up. So without even thinking, no research, anything, it's like, that's my job. And so I took it and I worked there for 10 years. So fast forward to today, as I'm working, I decided, like, if anybody, and I'm sure all the people on this call or podcast would know, anybody that goes into consulting, your first 2 years are like horrific. You're working 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. You're traveling a lot. You're the new person on the block. So it's just expected. And usually what happens is you work a couple of years and you go back and get your MBA. Well, I started the job with experience and an MBA. So there was no like nice off ramp for me to, put in all this time and then off ramp to go back to get an MBA. So I knew my next step would have to be, leave Deloitte, because there's no, I'm not going back to get a second MBA. I'm done. But during that 10 years, I had not one, not two. I had 2 kids. Yeah. So I had 2 children, and I had a lot of issues with like being motivated to clean up the resume, to make the effort to do the networking, to say, okay, what's my next step? What do I want to do? So this position came about, the one I'm in now, because of my professional organization, which is the American Society of Appraisers. And so I'm an accredited senior appraiser with them, which takes a lot of other classes and courses to be successful and to like get pulled into that. And it's a small group. Nationally, there's not very many people that have this accreditation. And because of that, when the bank where I am now needed help, they just had to, a quick search would probably return like 10 or 12 people that would fit what they needed. And they called me, and I told Chadwick, I said, well, I'm not even motivated to clean off the resume, but now they want me to come in. And so I'm going to have to clean off the resume, which, sidebar, you should just every 6 or 7 months, just go ahead and update your resume.
Just do it. Right?
It's much easier to do that than to wait like 7 years and then be like, what? And then have to like completely redo it. So that's like just my little mom tip for today. So they called, and then we talked for about 6 months, and I was on the fence because, I was going from a job that I could do it in my sleep, even though I was traveling. And anytime anybody wants to talk about that, the whole consulting piece, I'm happy to talk about that too, because you need to know what you're getting into before you do it. But I think if you do it, it's a very good launching board for very great careers down the road for people fresh out of college. But I was, debating, this is a great company. I've been with them for a long time. Do I just up and leave for this job I know nothing about that could just sink in 2 years? So, we decided to take the leap. We took the leap, and I've been there for 5 years. So now the question is, so how did I get here? So I would say I got here by a series of unexpected and unplanned events that were only made possible because foundationally I was prepared to take life whichever direction it came, whatever came towards me. Because of the foundation, I was able to take those leaps and those chances. So it wasn't like a doctor where you do X, Y, Z, you're doctor, or a lawyer, you do X, Y, Z, you're lawyer. This was more of an art where I had to take classes and be knowledgeable and network and make sure that I'm putting myself in a place so that I'm able to be thought of when an opportunity comes about. So I hope I answered that. I know it was long, but.
No, I think you did a great job answering all the questions. So I just want to circle back to the fly girl all the way to the beginning.
I can teach
from, I think this is a beautiful story, and I keep hearing the same kind of things, right? We're hearing, I thought that I was going to do this one thing, and, you know, basically life happened, or I had these other experiences, and then I learned what I actually wanted to do and what I was actually good at. So I think just, I guess, experience and just putting yourself out there, networking, listening to podcasts, you know, doing that kind of research will really help you in the long run. But it's not like you made any mistakes. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are now. I think.
Oh, no, I'm sure I made mistakes. I'm sure
there are learning opportunities, right?
Yes. I think mistakes, but mistakes, I think, get you to where you're going to be because, you know, I mean, one could argue that I should have stayed in engineering, or maybe I should have bypassed that altogether because I'm not even doing that right now. But I would say if I didn't do engineering, I wouldn't have gotten that call from Deloitte because I would be in a different place. So I just feel like you do what you love, and then make sure you ask a lot of questions so that you can get to so that you can always do what you love and you can get to where you want to be, as opposed to just accepting anybody that just accepts like, oh, I'm a really good dancer, so I'm just going to dance and I'm not going to try to get a bachelor's degree in anything because I just want to dance. And that's fine because I still love to dance. And if, you know, any opportunity I have, you know, to do a little whatever, that's
two-step.
Yeah, I'll do it.
That's awesome.
But I think, and sadly, I had to let it go. I let the whole thing go. So I had a recital in May of 2015, and I literally have not been on a stage since, or did I say 1995?
You know, I was wondering, wow, 5 years ago, I had no idea that was something you were doing. You bypassed your life.
It's been very, very busy. So anyway, I just think the summary is, if Mr. Beadle didn't take an interest and say, oh, have you thought about this? I would have gone to college. I'm pretty sure I would have gone to college because I had to go to college to be a ladybird. Ladybird's a dance team at the university in Louisville. That's like, they're like 20-year all-time champions now.
Nice.
And that is what I would have done, but I would have majored in something like art, or like, it wouldn't have been anything that would have had anything that would have made me have a guaranteed like career path. It would have been something really self-serving, I think. So, and that's not to say that majoring in art or English is bad. I just think it would have put me in a different place than where I am now, where now, if for some reason I wanted to be an engineer again, I can do it, I guess. I'd never want to do it, but I could. Whereas if I majored in, I can't even think, communications or something, or I guess I could still do something with that. I don't know. It's just, I think everything happens for a reason. And
for sure. Yeah.
Good to ask questions, because growing up, I was very, very shy. So if the teacher didn't say something, I never would have asked or inquired because I was super shy, and there's no way I would have asked. I would have been looking at the college catalog and just randomly said, okay, that looks good, and went on about my day. So ask questions.
So so you just, there we go. We're done. We're wrapping up. She gave all the answers already. That was awesome.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Right. No, I want to hear a little bit more about your support system growing up. I guess, I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. Yeah. We heard about Mr. Beadle. That's awesome. But I guess we heard about your home life and your family, and I can say the same for my family. You know, we have a couple of college grads, but most people, you know, stopped at high school. So I guess, what was your motivation, and who supported you on your college path?
Yeah, so it'd be my parents, and the motivation was interesting because my mom would always talk about how she went to college for a couple of years, then she dropped out because she went out of state. So she went to Tennessee for college, and she was homesick, and she had a boyfriend that was back home, and I think he was applying pressure.
Oh, trouble.
And so she would tell the story many times. I know the story many, many times, and she ended up dropping out, and you could just sense in the way that she talked about it, the regret that, you know, why did she drop out? Why didn't she finish? And she never ever like put that on us, which is interesting because I have a sister and a brother who did not go to college. And I did, and I'm in the middle. And so I never felt pressure from her to go to college, but I think hearing her story made me motivated to say, that's the path that I want to go to. Now, separately, so the parents very supportive, never once pushed it. It's almost as if when I brought up college, they said, oh, so you want to go to college? Oh, college?
Okay, why not?
It wasn't like, you're going to, like now with my 3 boys, they're going to college. Like, we're not going to have a discussion.
They don't have a choice, right?
Alternative path. It's college, and then you'll figure out life after college. But right now, you're going to college. So it was a very, and I remember the conversation because it was probably shortly after the Mr. Beadle interaction when it was about time to start taking like the ACTs and SATs. And it was just kind of like shock, like, well, yeah, sure. And, and then they're like, well, we don't know how we're going to pay for it. I was like, well, I've been reading that there's scholarships. And they're like, oh, there's scholarships? I was like, yeah, I think if I do well enough on these tests, I'll be able to get, so I was kind of educating my parents throughout this process. But they were even though they didn't know much about it, they were very, very supportive. So that would be first and foremost. And then every Thursday night growing up, our family would watch The Cosby Show and subsequently A Different World. And I'm sorry, I know this is it's probably a touchy subject, but having that in our living room or family room on a weekly basis opened my eyes to so many things as a Black girl from Kentucky, just not even knowing that Black families could live like that in New York. And then going to college, I just never knew that existed. And so just watching that gave me another like fantasy realm of like, this is really real. Even though this is a sitcom, it's like the first sitcom that actually I could see me and my family as being that family and, going on. So I would say it's my family, and then TV was my motivation because I just used to remember seeing those episodes and seeing all the different storylines, especially around getting out of the house and getting educated and moving on to college and how that all looked, where it was just foreign to me, and never being on a camp. Like I never went to a college campus for anything until I went to college, so I'd never had that exposure. So it's great to have the support from your family, which, I wouldn't trade it, but then seeing the sitcom, I think also helped as well. So
yeah, no, for sure. Any way you can find, motivation. I feel like now there are a lot of, you can visit college campuses online with UVisit. And so that's nice, right? I mean, if you can't get to a campus to be able to visit that way. And then there's social media. If you want to DM somebody who you find goes to a school that you want to, attend, that's something you can do. So I feel like that's been helping a lot of students who may not have access to, like you were saying, might not have parents that are necessarily pushing you to inquire more about.
They're not against it, right?
Oh yeah, no, not at all. No, that was.
And they didn't know. They had no idea where to start. Like they didn't know we should take a tour of the campus.
Right?
We showed up the weekend they said it was time to move into the dorm, and that was. I think I may have done a tour after I applied because I feel like the dean of the engineering school said, "Oh, well, you should come in for like once I got accepted." So I think I did that. I think it was just me by myself. I don't think my parents went to that. And so when they came, it was just sort of like a whole new experience for all of us.
No, same. My mom didn't. I mean, my mom, single family, but she didn't come with me to tour colleges. It's, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? And if that's not something, a parent knows that might help their student, then
right.
Yeah. Right. So that's great that you were exposed. I'm still stuck on the whole fly girl thing, but that's a topic for another day. That is awesome.
I love that show, and this not getting off topic, but not trying to say too far off topic. Yeah. I danced every day. So I did tap dance, ballet every day. I did recitals. I had like private, there was things I did in groups, and then there was things I did by myself. And so when Living Color came on, I guess the audience knows, okay, Shawntay really likes TV. She watches a lot of TV. I don't anymore. I have 3 boys.
You don't have time.
I used
Yeah.
to watch a lot of TV. And I could just see me do like, oh, Rosie Perez. Oh my gosh. Like that.
She is something.
Halo.
Right?
So anyway, that was my goal. And so I would stay, I had a big wall mirror and I would stand in front of the mirror and practice for hours on top of hours.
You could have had a completely different life. You could have been
completely different.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. That's so cool.
But again, to the audience, I have 0 regrets because anytime I want to dance, I just turn on my music and I dance. But it's just funny how you have plans, and especially when you're 16, you don't know what you want to do, and then you could be stubborn and say, but this is what I'm going to do, or you could say, maybe Mr. Beadle has something here with the whole, like, check out this engineering stuff and just check it out. I would just say, don't ever shut doors. Check out things and see, because when you're that young, you just don't know. You don't know what you want or what you don't want, even though you think you do.
Right. That's great advice. Never shut doors. That's awesome. Yeah. Any advice, just listen to it. Think about it. You don't have to take it necessarily, but just think about it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right. You basically answered all of my questions before I could ask any of them. So
I haven't talked too much now.
No, this is great. This is great. No, this is going to be so beneficial for someone out there. It's going to be, it'll be great. So I did want to thank you so much for your time. If there's anything else you want to, any last words before we?
I'll just give a plug. I don't have I don't have a thing. I guess I'm on Instagram or whatever, but if anybody wants to reach out for follow-up questions and you want to make that available, maybe at the bottom, says Shawntay at whatever, I could do. I'm happy to talk to people. If you have any questions, follow-up, if you want to know more about Fly Girl or about finance, I'm happy to talk in more detail about anything like that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Shawntay.
Anytime, Ashley.
All right. Take care.